Another scale trail truck has hit the RC Driver Workshop for review, and this one's from Carisma. It's the Coyote, and I'd like to thank HRP for sending this over to us to check out. This is a pretty neat looking machine. I'm interested in seeing it up close, and I'm of course going to show you guys all the details, but let's start off outside here. This is the SCA-1E, and I like what they did there. It's like scale, but they kind of hit it. But pretty neat stuff going on. The box art kind of on the dark side. Just so you guys know, I went to school for graphic design, so I like looking at the box art. That's why I show you guys the box a lot of the time. Like checking out the graphics and stuff like that. But you know, it gets the job done. They've got some basic details going on here. Well, nothing going on here, just the logo of the company. But over here, we've got some details on the truck. Of course, you know, we've got the pre-assembled truck, comes with a radio system, receivers in a waterproof radio box here, hobby wing speed controller, 35 turn motor. Let's see here. We've got the steel frame rails, solid axles, beadlock tires. I mean, I just went through all the details that this machine has, and it's got some pretty neat features. Now, this thing is about 300 bucks, so I want to see if this thing is really worth 300 bucks. And well, starting off here, it comes pretty well packaged. Check out, it's got these little foam things just kind of keeping everything secure. Everything's wrapped in plastic. So I am going to unearth this truck so we could take a closer look. Alright, that's done. That was ridiculously well packaged. I had to like cut all this tape out just to get to the instruction manual. Alright, let's break this bag open now because there is a lot of stuff in here that I need to talk to you guys about. I don't even know what it is yet, but we're going to check this out. Alright, so first, instruction manual, where I always start. And this one is a pretty detailed instruction manual. You know, black and white, but it gives you all the information on building it, throwing it together, and it looks like it's in a number of different languages, so that should be very helpful. Obviously, read this if you've never been in RC before. And let's move on to all these things that are in here. And let's start off with, I guess, with these AA batteries here. And obviously, that is for the transmitter, so that is nice that you don't need to go pick that up. But here's the radio system here. And I've never had one of these. This is a CTX 8000, and it's got a narrow grip, not too bad. Plastic wheel, though. Not a fan of the plastic wheel. Need the foam wheel on there, but actually it does feel pretty good. And I think that should be fine for young drivers and adults. Looks like we got a number of trim knobs here. Steering trim, throttle trim. It's got a key button here. Maybe that's for a bind. I don't know. I didn't read the instructions yet. That's why you need to read those. On-off switch, and overall decent feel to it. ATV thumb knob right here, nice and easy to get to. Okay, on to some details, some accessory type of stuff that they've included. So we've got this rear bumper, I believe. Yeah, so it's got a rear bumper that you could add onto it. And so this has a trailer hitch on there, but that's already got a rear bumper, so that's interesting. So we'll have to figure that out, but it does come with a rear bumper and shackles. And over here we've got a set of mirrors, so it looks like you have to add on the mirrors. I see the holes there, so that looks like a pretty easy install. And I'm guessing that they don't put those on right from the factory because they could fall off during shipping. But it's got a lot of the accessories already on there. Looks like we got a rear view mirror. We've got a cross wrench. So you can do some work to the truck, like take off the wheel nuts. And then over here, we've got some more chrome pieces that look like they need to go onto the vehicle. We've got a hex wrench and then another bumper here and chrome bumper. This might go on to the front. I don't know. But anyway, it gives you a lot of detail accessories. I'll kind of play with that during the performance part of it so you can see what it looks like if I can in fact bolt these on. But anyway, moving on to this. So this is pretty interesting. This is a USB charger for the included battery. So this probably takes a little while to charge. Looks like the charge current is 100 milliamps, and it tells you right on there about 14 hours. So it'll get you going, but it's gonna take a while. So anyway, I'd really recommend just buying a quick charger while you're at the hobby shop, picking one of these things up. Then we've got a decal sheet here, just some extra decals if you want to go ahead and maybe, you know, detail it some more. Nice that they give you that with the kit. And then, oh, this little thing fell out as well. So this is a little rubber stopper for the transmitter trigger. So if you do have a youngster driving it, they're not going to go and rip on the throttle. You know, not that this thing's going to go that fast. Anyway, it's a trail truck. It's meant to go slow. But here is the machine right here. And it looks pretty neat. So this is a 50s inspired body. Doesn't have any licensing to it, but it does look pretty cool. It's got a flat black finish on the outside here. That is pretty neat. And they went ahead and they applied the window decals. We've got the decals on the doors here. Chrome grille. And this is an actual chrome grille. It's not a decal or anything like that. And then from what I've read, you could go and put LED lights in this. So it's already set up. It's an option, but you can go and do it. I believe that's also the case in the rear as well. Yeah, it definitely looks like you could put some LED lights in there. Got a chrome bumper out back, and we've even got some chrome accents, some chrome door handles, and again, I showed you guys those chrome detail parts that come with it. Chrome windshield wipers. So it's got a very cool look as far as the body goes. Nice lightweight Lexan body. And yeah, you can see the inside is glossy because they painted it from the outside. But that's got a pretty neat look to it. I do like the look of that. And now on to the truck itself. And check this machine out. And it kind of looks similar to a lot of other crawlers that are on the market. You know, I mean, they're all kind of going after that same style of a scale truck look to it. And it starts with the metal frames, some steel frame rails here, metal links, solid axles. But let me start off at the front. We'll work our way back. So obviously you guys have already seen this front bumper. It's got some shackles on there already, and it is adjustable. So if you do go change out the body, you can move out the bumper if necessary. I see it also has holes, so you could go and add a winch on there if you want to go and get a winch for it. All right, moving back to the frame rails. Again, these are steel frame rails, both sides obviously, and they run front to rear. They got the semi-horseshoe in the front to allow the axle to go up, straight in the rear. We've got the dip down for the transmission. And let's move on to the shocks, because these are some large bore shocks on this thing. And it feels a bit interesting. It looks like this one is sticking over here. So I've got a little bit of an issue to deal with there. Looks like we've got some... Oh, nope, I got it. It's free. Look at that. There we go. So it feels okay, but these are a large bore shock. That's pretty neat. It's got a metal cap on there. And actually the entire shock body is metal as well. So pretty neat that it comes with all metal shocks on this thing. Large bore shocks. It's got some bump stops on the bottom. You can go take that out later if you're going to tune it, whatever. But it's probably set up nice and neutral so you can get into it. So the shocks feel pretty decent now that they've kind of broken in a bit. And we'll see how it goes as we progress. Adjustable body mounts, front and rear, and just, you know, composite shock hoops. Some simple cross bracing going on throughout the chassis. And all the cross bracing is just composite. That's what you would expect from this ready to run vehicle. And let me of course move down to the front axle. Let's start talking about some of this drivetrain stuff here. All right, so this front axle, it's got this kind of rounded pumpkin up front here. Pretty interesting look to it. And kind of a busy looking axle going on here. It's got your standard caster blocks on the outside of the axle, allows you to swap them out if necessary. There's 2 screws, top and bottom. Got plastic steering knuckles, plastic drag link here, and that is kind of flexible. So we'll see how that holds up. We've got an adjustable short link here, and it has a plastic servo horn, but I did read that the servo itself does have metal gears. It's a high torque servo. So hopefully we've got some good steering out of this machine. But what I could also see in here, which is pretty neat, are some universal axles. So it's not like a bone and cup setup like we've seen on some other vehicles. This is a CV joint, so that is really cool to see. However, I see a bronze bushing on the other side of that, so I'm not too jazzed about a bronze bushing in the steering knuckle. But let me just keep on going. So we've got metal links. I'm really excited to see we've got some metal links on here. And it's a 4-link front and a 4-link rear. Usually we see like a 3-link front now with a panhard setup, but it's 4-link. We've got a not so smooth center skid plate here, kind of notchy, so a little interested to see how that will do going over some rough terrain. I think the pumpkin and the axle will do okay, but this center skid kind of worries me there. And what is also pretty cool are CV style center drive shafts, telescoping drive shafts, and they are all metal. That is very cool. I do like that. So many plastic axles out there on a lot of cars. these are metal to start, and that's great to see. What I'm also noticing here that's kind of interesting are these little cups that are over here on the rock sliders. It looks like you could go and put LED lights in here, so you could kind of underlight your rig. That's pretty neat. And then, of course, metal links in the rear. All right, back up top here. Kind of talked to you guys about the servo already. Let's move over to the speed controller. Now, it is a crawler speed controller slash boat. It's on there. It says it's boat, crawler and boat. So it's a WP1040 brushed motor speed controller. This is a hobby wing speed controller. It comes in a lot of ready-to-run vehicles. It is LiPo compatible. 2 to 3S LiPo compatible, as it says on the side of the speed controller. But a brushed speed controller, inexpensive, gets the job done. Moving back here, we've got a 540 motor. It's a closed can brush motor, 35 turns, so that's around the right type of turn for a crawler system. And now this transmission. Let's move over to the transmission. This transmission looks like it was just yanked out of another Carisma, maybe 10 scale buggy or something like that, and dropped right in here. So that's kind of interesting. They didn't go remold the case specifically for this. It even has the motor guard over here, and you can see the tab where you would mount it to the chassis. So kind of parts binish, you know, right there. But hey, maybe that means parts supply is good in case you do go and need something else for it. Got a receiver box over here. Even looks like they went and put some silicone on the top to kind of waterproof this thing a bit. Electronics tray, and then the battery is located out back here. Would kind of rather seen it up front, but again, this is a ready-to-run machine. So I did go and check out the Carisma website. They basically say on there that this is your basic rock crawler. This isn't some sort of competition rock crawler. You know, this is for you to go out and have fun with, and from what I'm seeing, yeah, that's what it's designed for. But the battery is easy to get to. It's just got 2 Velcro straps holding it down. It's a 1400 milliamp nickel metal hydride battery. So, you know, in a vehicle like this, it'll probably get you at least 20 minutes, you know, maybe longer depending on how you're driving it. But there's certainly plenty of room in here, so you go and add a different battery. And then that's really about it. We've got the bumper mount for out back, so you can go probably put this bumper in if you wanted to. So check that out. So you go add those accessories. And, oh, let me talk about the wheels and tires. So it's kind of got this medium compound tire. I don't know exactly if there's foam inserts in here. Can't really tell. It doesn't really feel like it, but it's kind of a firm compound. I did read, however, that these are beadlock rims, true beadlock rims, so you could go and take it apart, maybe add some lead weight, stick-on weights to the inside if you really wanted to do that. But, you know, this lug, it's probably a good generic lug for multi-terrain type of use. All right, so that really wraps up this machine. I think it's got a pretty good look to it. Hopefully, you know, that suspension doesn't stick anywhere. It's sticking again. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. You know, I probably would have liked to seen the battery up front in this thing, or at least an option to do that, but it doesn't look like you could go and do that easily. You know, I'm just thinking ahead for when somebody grows into this machine. You know, are they going to be able to tune it and do what they want to do to it? Because there are going to be those people that want to do that. But again, overall, very neat look to it. I'm excited to go out, hit some of the trails, you know, see what this thing could do. I'm going to put it through the test. We'll see how it goes. All right, check this out. Alright, so I'm back from driving the Carisma Coyote, and well, I had a pretty good time finding some new spots to test this rig out. Love the scenes out there in nature, some really cool views and stuff like that. And overall, I had a good time with this truck, but I do need to talk to you about some of its performance traits. And let me start off, like I usually do, with the steering on this thing. And the steering works pretty well. Actually, I should tell you that I did go and drive it stock right out of the box, and the steering I found was pretty limiting, and actually that was easily fixed by just turning up the dual rate on there. So if you do grab this rig, make sure you double check that steering dual rate, make sure it's cranked up so you get full steering. Once it has full steering throw, it steers pretty well, steers respectively for the particular trails I was going through. I wasn't going over anything crazy with this machine. Smaller machine, scale looking machine, that's kind of what they're going for, so I kind of toned things down a bit. I wasn't crawling some steep stuff. So anyway, steering worked pretty well. It stalled out, you know, when I got it caught up in some rocks and stuff like that. And it's a ready to run servo, so I kind of expect those things to happen. And again, if you want some more aggressive steering, you're probably going to have to go and upgrade the servo later on down the road. All right, now let's get into handling. And remember when I told you guys, when I pulled this out of the box, and I'm like, wow, this thing is kind of sticking. Well, I mean, it's still sticking. I mean, look at that. It's kind of just bottomed out here, and you got to kind of pull the shocks apart. So out on the trails, you know, this thing was pretty stiff. The shocks on it were pretty stiff. It was bouncing around a lot. It really wasn't articulating like I wanted it to. You know, if you're out flat trailing this thing, I mean, it's fine, but you know, I would probably say go through this machine and kind of find out why the suspension is sticking, work on it a bit. That's what I'm gonna do. Hopefully, you know, I'll be able to return soon with an update on this. But you know, right now, I'm just talking right out of the box. You know, I'm not touching anything as you would get it too. And you know, the suspension is just really stiff, and again, it sticks, and so all that translates to a really rigid suspension on the trail. This is a 1.55 truck. It's got the 1.55 wheels on here, and obviously a little bit smaller diameter tire. So taking into account the size of the vehicle, it was just kind of bouncing around and stuff, and it's a scale machine, and it's bouncing around all over the place, so it didn't look ultra scale. Something I think can be fixed, but you know, you have to be willing to work on it. All right, next up I want to talk about the speed, acceleration, power of the truck. Now this has a crawler speed controller in it, that Hobbywing speed controller, the crawler boat speed controller. It is set up in crawling mode right now, and it has a ton of instant drag brake on there. As soon as you let off the throttle, this thing hits the drag brake and stops. And you really can't dial it out, so it's a little bit frustrating to drive. It's a little jerky. It doesn't have a smooth low-end throttle to it. You know, with a scale crawler, you want just minimum throttle. You want that thing to creep nice and smooth. Well, this thing, it kind of ramps up. It doesn't have a nice smooth throttle curve to it. It just kind of just ramps straight up when you start to pull the throttle. So the throttle took some getting used to in order to control, to get it to climb scale-like and get that smooth crawl up and over some of the obstacles and stuff like that. But it was a little on the rough side, guys. The throttle's a bit jerky. The other issue I probably maybe should have mentioned in crawling is these tires are pretty hard, and so as far as grabbing traction on rocks and stuff like that, you know, it really wasn't there. The compound is just too hard on it. For just romping around, maybe in the backyard, driving on flat hiking trails and stuff like that, probably fine. When I was going through the rock creeks and stuff like that, obviously a harder compound tire is going to be even more affected once it's wet. So crawling over some of the rocks after that was a little bit of an issue. But I did manage to have fun with this machine. I do want to say that I had a fun time on the flat trail section of the particular park that I was in. And then durability, I didn't roll it. When I was in the creek, nothing happened to the electronics as far as when they got wet, and I didn't hear any gear sounds or anything like that as far as, you know, gear skipping or anything. It seems like the transmission is pretty solid on this machine. So overall, you know, again, I think it's a neat truck. It's priced at about $300, so it's a little on the pricey side for some of the areas that it falls short in. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, I like the look of it. I think it's got potential here. You know, it's got these metal links on it. It's got the the metal drive shafts. It does have large bore shocks. They are aluminum. It's got these neat smaller 1.55 wheels on there. There's these things that make me want to go and do more with this truck, and I think I'm going to do it. But it really depends on what you're looking for. You know, if you like the look of it, or if you like the footprint of this particular machine, I think you could get this thing dialed in and have fun with it. I always try to look at the positive side of things, let you guys know all the negatives so you guys can make the decision on what's best for you if you do want to go and grab this machine. But I don't think this will be the last time you'll see this. I do want to go and mess with it some more. So hopefully it'll be back on the channel really soon. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the review of the Carisma Coyote ready to run. If you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button, the notifications bell. Throw the video a like. More questions or comments about this particular truck, please throw it in the section below. When you have some extra time, head over to rcdriver.com.